What is going on, everybody? It's TheUnderDoug here. I've spent quite a bit of time playing the Modern Warfare 2 beta, and I wanted to share with you my thoughts and first impressions on it. But before I dive into that, just really quickly, I do want to explain something about myself for those that don't know me. I'm not the type that's going to bullshit you. I'm going to tell you like it is and what my thoughts are, and I'll be straight up and honest with you. I'm obviously not backed by anyone or any entity, no business. Definitely not an Activision shill. So I'd hope that you can trust what I say here on this channel is genuinely my own thoughts and my own thoughts only. I'll also say that I'm open for your criticism and feedback on the things that I talk about on this channel. It's just part of being in the public sphere. You've got to be able to discuss and be a part of the community discussion, which is what I'm hoping to do here as I get more active on this channel. Oh, and since you're here, don't forget to show some love with a like, a sub, and to never miss an upload notification. The big thing here that I want to talk about today is everyone has their playstyle, and everyone has their preference on what they enjoy. You know, I like pineapple on my pizzas.
Oh, but no anchovies. And I mean no anchovies. You put anchovies on this thing and you're in big trouble, okay?
But only if it's sauced up with barbecue, you know what I'm saying? And some people get grossed out by that shit. It's all good. Pizza lovers unite.
Wow! Pizza heaven!
You know, everybody loves pizza, man. We all love Call of Duty. But we all have our different preferences, and we all have our different flavors and tastes. I'm just also a big pizza fanboy, though, so that's kind of a bad example. I'll eat any pizza no matter what's on it. I got to give myself some credit there, though. It's kind of a good example because it's, like I said, it can apply to Call of Duty. Except in this instance, it's as if the old owners of my favorite pizza restaurants sold it to somebody else. And the new owners have completely changed the recipe and the identity of what made them special in the first place. And the old saying that nothing good lasts forever also applies here. The people that developed and brainstormed and created this titan of a franchise many, many years ago, a lot of them are no longer there or they've moved on to other things. It's just the natural flow of things. It's the natural flow of life, especially when we talk about people's careers. People move in and they move out. They're there for a couple years and then they're gone doing something else. It's just what happens. And likewise, people change too. The old guard, I use air quotes here, the old guard of COD players that pretty much are in our mid-30s now, and many of the new generation of COD players haven't ever really given the older CODs the time of day since the games are just so old. I mean, think about it realistically. Are you gonna be, if you're younger, are you gonna pop in Call of Duty Ghosts? You might play it for a couple rounds and think, you know, why am I doing this? Why don't I just go play Cold War? Why don't I just go play Modern Warfare 2 Beta or Warzone? Why don't I just do that? Why am I playing Ghosts? Or why am I playing Black Ops 1? Who even knows how many CODs still have online matchmaking, especially ones that aren't hacked or modded to shit. I remember one time that I popped in World at War or Black Ops 2, and I don't remember which one it was, but it was an older one, and some dude was running around glitching out like he's blinking like a rainbow, like he was Super Mario after getting the star, you know what I'm saying? Unkillable, just, you couldn't touch him, so, you know, it just made it unenjoyable. It was crazy. Anyway, the point being here, the new generation of Call of Duty is who Call of Duty has to appease. It's not us dinosaurs. They're a business, they're trying to survive, and when us older COD players start to get busy with kids and life and family and possible just loss of interest and the available time to game, we're a dying breed. That's just the facts of the matter. You're not going to be able to game forever. However, even though that I can acknowledge that my taste and my preference for a COD game may be going the way of the dodo, but in my mind, I feel like no matter how much you try and rationalize what they're doing and the decisions that they're making, these business type of decisions that they're making, no matter how much you try and make it make sense from their perspective, it doesn't make any sense. So how can any of this be good for the long run for this first-person shooter? Example A, removing red dots from the minimap unless a UAV is activated in order to protect players from themselves for firing their own weapon. It makes no sense to me. Zero. The whole idea behind this, initially, was to be tactful when you're firing your weapon. And when you're firing, you should be figuring out, now that you're drawing attention to yourself, and anyone around you is likely to be coming your way now. They know where you're at to figure out where to move next. That's literally the pro and the con of firing your weapon. It's a test of how good that you can be as a player in the game. Can you think ahead and on the fly, after you've neutralized one enemy, where's the next one likely going to be moving from and coming from now that you've been exposed? You've given yourself away by firing your weapon. Now, based on the situation in the map layout, where you're at, where's the next guy likely to come from? This very thing promotes movement for all players involved. You're basically chasing red dots. I mean, as much as that gets a lot of flack, it's true. It promotes movement. Now, from this dev team's perspective, they think they're helping the noob by doing this. By, like, firing your weapon, you're not showing up on the minimap. And they probably are. But they're also protecting Timmy No Toes, who, he doesn't have any legs, Timmy No Toes, who camps in a corner with his shotgun and waits until he hears Hulkbuster's fucking footsteps to react. If there's no ping on the minimap when Timmy No Toes fires, how is anyone going to go up there and plan the attack to carefully escort Timmy No Toes from the vicinity? You can't really do it because he's not moving. I mean, unless you keep going back there and you keep getting killed. And by that time, now Timmy No Toes has his nuke, or Timmy No Toes has his attack helicopter, and then the entire match is just changed completely because of that one dude. So there used to be logic here in this situation of why firing a weapon is both a positive and a negative for each player involved. The positive being, you're competing for a kill. That's the reward when you're firing your weapon. And the negative, you're now susceptible and you're drawing more attention to yourself. So what's the counter here? Keep moving. But that's not what the dev team wants, it seems, as they want you to slow down. That's the end goal here, I'm convinced. The COD player base has, over the years, grown and gotten better at the game. And with COD pros sharing their strats and watching streams on the regular, a lot of the COD community has gotten better at the game over the years. There's just many ways in which the communication lines on how to improve at the game have opened up, whereas back in 07 and 09, these things were a little bit more kept lock and key because you didn't really have that information out there. You really had to search for it. Until, of course, streaming platforms became huge in the 2010s. All of that is to say that these devs, ultimately, want to penalize movement. Rushing, to be more specific. They want to penalize rushing. If you can't run and gun due to the ridiculous footstep audio implications, you're basically being neutered to where walking, crouching, and staying in one place is ideal for you, and it doesn't really have any penalty because you're firing your weapon and there's no way you show up. It encourages you to stay in the same spot that you're at. It's pretty ridiculous. Not to mention the perk system. This absolutely has got to change. Part of what made Call of Duty so fun was to be able to truly create different classes with your gun setup and your perk setup, as well as creating something that really suited your teammates' playstyles as well whenever you join up as a team. So really, whoever you're playing against or the map that you're on, you could be breaking out your SMG class with Ghost and Double Time and Marathon, or just Scavenger. Like, you'd be compiling all these different setups and stuff so that you can maximize your playstyle with the map, your teammates, and the opponents that you're playing. Granted, you can customize your perk package here in Modern Warfare 2, but you're limited to only selecting what's in the base perks, bonus perks, and ultimate perk groups. In other words, Ghost is only an ultimate perk and cannot be chosen as base or bonus perks, which sucks, especially when considering it's a constant UAV spam fest out here. Which brings me to another counter to the dev team. If you want players to be protected, if you want the noobs to be protected, why are UAVs so easy to earn and Ghost doesn't come into play until the later rounds? Wouldn't Ghost be something that would benefit the noob? Like, I understand that we're talking about noobs just camping and just sitting around with their shotguns in the corners, but it promotes them to move a little bit when they have the perk activated. Like, they're protected in a way that UAV can't see them when they're moving. So, let's get these kids to be a better player by letting them move. Force them to move. Then they have to learn the map. They have to learn flow. They have to learn spawn points. They have to learn the hotspots of where the enemy's coming from, usually, and play the odds. Is what I'm saying, like, making any sense? I'm just curious to those in the comments. You know, let me know where I'm wrong here. I'm genuinely curious. It just doesn't add up to me. If you want to protect the players, why are UAVs so easy to get? That exposes them completely. But otherwise, they don't show up at all with firing their weapon. And this all brings me to my last point, which has been talked about ad nauseum, skill-based matchmaking. This is a pretty contentious issue here within the community, but I'm right there with many on their thoughts about it, from Nero, Cinema, Thunder, and Blame Truth. Skill-based matchmaking is thick in this game, and it continues to be leaned on as a way to protect bad players. Now, before you click off, because it's been talked about many, many times, I want to say that I agree with skill-based matchmaking in principle, that as a business, if one of your goals is to entice new players, Fortnite players, Apex players, like you got to compete against these things now. Like these didn't exist back then. So now you got to compete against these places in these games. So you got to do something to get people to come over here and have a good time. So I agree in principle as a business move. So that's where SBMM makes sense. You need something in place that allows these players to get better at their own pace. But in what you're doing now is you're throwing in the good players that can't have a good time. They can't have a good time because we're going up against people of similar skill, and it's a constant sweat fest. You can't just hop on a game and know that you're decent, know that you're average player, and just enjoy the game. Like, to some people, that enjoyment means to be highly competitive. To some people, they want to be a part of a sweat fest. They want to be able to grind. Like, that's part of their enjoyment. And for a lot of people, they might be average at the game. They might be above average of the game, kind of like myself. I'm not an elite player by any means. I'll have my good games every now and then, but for the most part, I'm about that 1-2, 1-3 type of kill-death ratio. I'm an average player, but that's hence the underdog here. Underdog. So it gets to a point where you start playing these games over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's like, man, dude, I kind of want just a little bit of a break here. Like, can I just play a shooter and come in here and have a little bit of fun? Like, you know, get a couple of cluster strikes and get a couple of attack helicopters going in the air and just kind of laughing with my friends about it. And like, can I just have a good time? Why does it have to be a constant, like, game battles feel like I'm playing for something, like I'm playing for money, like I'm playing for, I mean, at some point it's not about pride anymore, guys. It's just about, can I just get a break? I mean, it's constant. I got people jumping around corners like they're freaking jumping jack. Like, I mean, we got Timmy No Toes and we have jumping jack in the same lobby. Like, I don't know. It's random as hell, and it's just it's a grind, dude, and it's just unnecessary. And it comes off because when you say things like this, it comes off like you have a weak mentality, like you're just wanting that easy road to get a high KD mark, or you want to be able to have a high win-loss mark. You just want to be able to pub stomp people. That's not where I'm coming from. Like, I will tell you that when I was growing up, games didn't have hot fixes. They didn't have patch updates. They didn't have things like online connectivity. Like, the game that you got, you open it up for Christmas, the game that you got was in a cartridge form. And that's the game. That's it. And if you sucked, you better get better, but otherwise you quit and it just sits there in your drawer and you never open it back up again. It sits there in the case and you never open it up, you never pop it in again, you never play it. And then your mom and dad feel bad because they bought it for you, and then it's like just been a waste of money. And then they start thinking, like, do you even play video games or not? Why would I buy you this for Christmas ever again? So, not speaking from experience here, but that's the dynamic. So if you come from a generation that's like, you know, the participation trophy thing, it's real. It's real. I have always been the type of person that takes a challenge personally. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to be competitive. If I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure out how to get better. That's how I got to the level that I'm at right now. Even though it's an average player by most people's standards, I've really only been doing like online competitive shooter since Modern Warfare 2, the first one. So it's been a while, 15 years, and I've never played competitively. I was never part of any pro teams or anything. I just, I've kind of played Call of Duty kind of casually, but I come into it with a mindset of trying to be a competitor. And that's kind of what my thought process has always been. I want to get better at the game. I don't want to just pop it in here and just have a good time. But sometimes you do. Sometimes you do want to avoid the sweat fest. Sometimes you want to pop in the game and just be able to just have a few laughs and, enjoy yourself. Do some crazy things every now and then. But when you're doing this against freaking pros, they feel like pros, it just makes it unenjoyable. And I don't know, that's just kind of how I feel about it. The skill-based matchmaking in principle makes sense. I get it, I understand it, I respect it, but there's got to be two different playlists or something, two different modes. An unranked mode that you can just dive in and, the SBMM is toned back a little bit. It's not completely gone, because I don't want to pub stomp noobs. At that point, it's just not fun. You do that over and over and over and over again. It's the same thing. You get both ends of the spectrum here. That's also not fun. So an unranked playlist, an unranked mode would get you to be able to have SBMM kind of toned back a little bit. And then a ranked playlist where it's you're literally playing against other people that might be a little bit better than you, or they're right there with you. That's a good compromise for skill-based matchmaking, being as thick as it is. Just going back to that, back in my day, you either figured it out, you figured the game out, and tested yourself. And you were so stoked that you finally beat that boss, or you beat that level that was giving you fits, and you literally jumped out of your chair and ran out of the room to tell your mom and dad you finally did it. That was what gaming was back then when I was a kid, and now the attention spans are low. The commitment levels are low. If you stink at a game, they quit. They're done. They're not playing it anymore. They're not giving it a second chance. They just might as well go back to a game that they've had success on. That's what the data shows. These devs and these gaming companies have data on you. And that's no offense to you young guys out there, but they do. They have the data on you. They're literally making decisions about you and your playing habits in order to keep you with them. That's what the data is doing. I work in data for a living. Not within the gaming industry, but these places are capable of digging in, deep dive digging into habits and predictive analysis here. They can even do it with behavior as well, like spending behavior. That's what they do. They're in the business to retain and maintain the mass group of their player base at any costs. And the data's out on you guys. If they feel like they can get you to stay with Call of Duty for as long as possible, they're going to find a way to do it. And if you stink at the game, they understand that you're probably not going to want to get pub stomped constantly. You'll find something else to play. And they don't want that. They want you to stay. They want you to stick around. So the skill-based matchmaking thing is a moneymaker for them as well. That's why they have to keep it in here. They could care less about us dinosaurs. We're eventually going to die out. And we're being very vocal right now because we know what we've experienced in this sphere. And it was special. It was actually fun. And it had a purpose. Or it felt like it had a purpose. And before our time is up, where we hang up the controller instead of hanging up the cleats, it's just another way to pass along the info to you guys that what these people are doing is butchering this game of what it once was. And ultimately I realize that skill-based matchmaking is probably here to stay, but the hope here is that if enough people, like Blame Truth, like Nero, like Thunder, other creators out there as well, but those are the ones that come to mind. If we get enough people to realize how bad it is for the majority of us, how this adversely affects their player base in mass, maybe then it'll be toned down. And ultimately that's what it's doing. It's adversely affecting everyone else except for the noobs. They're having a great time. Because eventually, anybody with thumbs is going to figure it out. Like, they're going to be going up against people that can't shoot, and they'll eventually figure out how to do it. And then they'll start advancing and getting a little bit, maybe they'll start getting a little bit better. But for a lot of us, there's a ceiling. There's almost the feeling of a ceiling, like you can't break through. No matter how hard you try, you can't quite break through. Or at least you're feeling like you can't break through. You're not feeling like you got it any better because you're constantly sweating your balls off trying to go over 500. Or over a 1.2, 1.3 in my case. Anyway, that's it for the video today, guys. Don't forget to show some love in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts about the video. Let me know your thoughts about my opinions, my feedback, my criticisms here about Modern Warfare 2. Am I kind of out of my element here? Am I just kind of spitballing, talking about nothing? You guys let me know. But make sure to like the video up, subscribe if you're new, and of course, give that notification bell a big. And until next time, thanks for watching. Underdog out.